Here in New England, where we call home, we get a lot of snow and ice and very cold temperatures. So we have to become creative over the years about how do we go outside and ride our bikes. There's fat bikes, there's cross-country skiing, there's all kinds of things to stay in shape, but we love riding our regular bikes. So we ride our gravel bikes with big tires. We get out there in the snow and in the ice. So today's video, I'm gonna tell you guys some tips on what I do in case we get into some trouble and what I do just to stay warm while I'm out training here in this nasty cold weather. The only thing that I like to change on my gravel setup from when I'm out riding regularly to when I'm out riding in the winter is I usually take the tire pressure way down. We see a lot of snow, packed down snow, ice, sometimes ice gravel mixtures, and basically the only thing that I can really recommend is either studded tires or really, really low pressure. I typically ride really low pressure. It also slows you down. You don't want to be going super fast like you're riding a road bike. That's not the thing that you want to do in the wintertime because it's so cold. You want to bring that speed down. You want to bring that core temperature nice regulated. I'm going to show you guys some ways that I like to do that out on the road. One of the things that we encounter a lot of out here is ice. It's slippery and it will send you all over the place. That's why I was saying I always bring my tire pressure super low to get that big contact patch on the ground. When I'm climbing on ice, it's not as much of a fear of mine of falling over because I've got my weight far back, I've got that low tire pressure, and I'm able to get traction and get up stuff. It's when I'm going downhill on ice that I'm mostly sketched out. I want to be really careful. This would be a time if you're going to do a lot of riding in the ice that I would recommend having studded tires because that's going to give you the most amount of confidence in tread when you're out on nasty, slippery conditions. The only other thing I can recommend is if you're going to be going downhill, go slow. If you do fall, it will definitely minimize any injury that you get, and then get your weight really far back and get a nice low center of gravity with your hands on the controls. You don't want to be grabbing a lot of brake because that will slide you out. Just stay nice in control, constant modulation on the brakes, keep your weight nice and far back and your head up. So two things that I like to do when I'm out riding in the cold weather. You've got your big tires on, got your studs, whatever, you're going nice and slow. On the climbs though, it's real convenient to regulate your body temperature by just unzipping your jacket, that last layer, as big as you can. And then I like peeling off my gloves. You don't even really have to take your hands completely off the bars. You just wanna make sure that you're able to regulate that body temperature. You don't wanna get everything all clammy and nasty, over sweating them. It's all about body temperature regulation in the cold stuff. So I usually just tuck my gloves right under my jersey there, under that thermal, leave those there. And at the top of the big climb, if you're skilled, you can do this while you're riding. But if you're just getting into cycling, just stop, zip your jacket up, put your gloves back on, and continue on. So even though you're not going super hard when you're out on these cold gravel rides, and you're definitely not going very fast, just like hydration, you wanna make sure that you're eating something because you gotta eat the same way that you would any other time. Even though you're cold and things aren't going as fast as they normally do, having a bar, some gels, banana, peanut butter and jelly, all that stuff applies even when it's cold out. One of the things that happens a lot of times when you're riding out in the cold weather, you forget to drink water. And one of the other really bad things that happens when you're out in the cold is that your water bottles freeze. So there's two ways to mitigate that. One, you can take this, you can stick it underneath your jacket, put it on your back to stay nice and warm there so that it doesn't freeze. And two, you can get a set of insulated bottles, put some warm water in them with some tea or some honey, something like that, so you've got some warm fluids so you're constantly drinking. I'd say keep it a little sweet, maybe some pineapple juice or some honey and tea. That way you're constantly wanting to drink. The biggest thing about riding in the winter is that you still sweat a lot. You're just mitigating it through doing these different techniques so you don't get super cold from the evaporation of the water on your skin, getting cold with the cold air. So definitely think about hydration and nutrition when you're out riding in the cold. Even though you're going slower, it doesn't mean that you're not sweating. and I've got a couple of things that I always bring with me in case of an emergency. The first thing is what I like to call this little pack. This pack's got pretty much everything you could want in it. It's got a neck gaiter so that I can put that over, keep all this nice and warm in my vocal cords. I've got my pump that I tuck in there and I kind of wrap in there nice and neat so that stays in there. Then when I open this up, this is a thermal vest that I throw right over on the top. I've got these charcoal hand warmers. They're activated by air. And I put these in my gloves and I'll put these in the front of my toes, and I'll show you guys that in a second how I do that. That adds a lot of warmth right back into the system, so always keep those in emergency. Then I have the, what I like to call the bank robber mask. This really, if it starts to sleet or snow or I get some, some precip, that is really essential. Keeps your face super warm and adds a lot of warmth back into your body. And then a second pair of gloves. If I've sweat too much and I've not been able to mitigate it, then at that point I've just say, okay, I'm gonna use my second pair of gloves, and that's gonna allow me to keep my hands nice and warm, because sometimes once the gloves get sweating them, it's over. You gotta kind of put them in your back pocket, dry them, and use them another day. One of the tips that I really like to do is I like to wear 2 shoe covers. One of these like cotton under, kind of right over, just a nice cover that you typically would wear like in the spring or in the summer when it starts to get a little cooler. Then I take one of these charcoal packets that we got, I put it on top, I lay it over my toes. Sometimes I'll even put it right in the shoe or there, but then I just put this right over the top. And that gives me a lot of warmth right in the toes, because getting that blood flow down to those little areas is not easy, and especially when it's cold out. But I wear 2 for a couple of reasons. One, I feel like that layer sucks up a little bit of the sweat that goes on in your foot and down in that area. And 2, it breaks off the wind. So when the wind's coming and hitting the front of your feet, having just that extra layer there adds a bit of relief, I would say, from the wind, and also gives you a little bit more protection. You put the cold pack in there, primo. So those are my favorite tips on how to get out in the cold in New England and look like a bank robber. All jokes aside though, I have to say, my bank robber mask doesn't come out very often, but when it does, it is a beautiful day of riding, and it's super cold, and I'm always so happy that I was able to get out there. It's a nice time to ride when the roads are all covered in snow and you're out there with your low pressure going nice and slow. You're not even that far away from the house, but you're getting in nice hours out there on the bike. Most people are skiing and doing their thing, but you're out there enjoying some gravel riding and staying warm at the same time. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below. Let me know what you wear. What's your go-to items when you're out there in the cold and nasty stuff? If you're from a cold climate, I'd love to know what your coldest ride is and what your go-tos are. If you guys want to see more content like this, check it out over here. If you want to subscribe to GCN, click right in the center.